Have you ever noticed that the harder you try not to feel anxious, the more anxious you become? You tell yourself to calm down, and suddenly your heart is racing even faster. You try to quiet your thoughts, and your mind just gets louder. It's not because you're doing something wrong here. It's because your mind is doing exactly what it's designed to protect you. But in acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT, we look at anxiety differently. We don't treat it like a fire to put out. We treat it like the weather passing through. And the more that you fight this storm, the stronger it becomes. Welcome back to ACT on Mental Health. My name is Sean Hardy, and I'm a licensed mental health counselor based here in Fort Wayne, Indiana. And recently, I started my own private practice called Vineyard Counseling. Now today, I want to show you why control makes anxiety worse, and how acceptance actually gives you room to focus on what makes life better. In ACT, anxiety isn't the enemy, it's a signal. It's a message that something you care about might be at risk. But the problem starts when we decide that this signal, the thoughts, the feelings, the racing heart, must be controlled, silenced, or eliminated before we can live our lives. Stephen Hayes, the founder of ACT, writes in Get Out of Your Mind and Into Your Life that our minds are wonderful problem-solving machines, but they apply the same control agenda to our internal experiences. When we try to control thoughts and feelings like we control the outer world, we create suffering. The control agenda feels logical. If I can manage my anxiety, then I'll finally be okay. But that logic is the trap, because the effort to control anxiety becomes anxiety itself. So what if the solution isn't control, but something counterintuitive, like acceptance? So think of this like being caught in a ripped current. Now, I've been out in the ocean, I've done some swimming, and thankfully I've never been swept under current, but I felt it, and my nerves got tested. So I want you to put yourself in that situation. You might feel that pull of being dragged under the surface, and your instincts might say swim harder. But the ocean doesn't work that way, does it? The more you fight this current, the faster it drags you under. Now, lifeguards teach something that almost sounds wrong. Don't fight it. Instead, float. Let the current carry you sideways and conserve your energy. Then when you're ready, swim back with the flow. That's how anxiety works, doesn't it? And the moment that you start thrashing, trying to escape your feelings, thoughts, or sensations, you lose ground. But when you stop struggling, when you allow the currents of emotions to move through you, you start to regain control in a different way. Not control over the water, but control within yourself. Acceptance isn't giving up. It's cooperating with reality long enough to find your way back to what matters. Let's look at it through the ACT lens. When anxiety shows up, our natural instinct is to control. Now, we might do this by seeking reassurance from a friend, or maybe avoidance of a certain activity, or distraction with some sort of mindless activity. But that creates a control loop. You feel anxious, so you try to control that feeling. Your brain interprets that effort as danger, and then the anxiety increases. So you're in this loop that continues and gets strengthened. The more you fight, the more you teach your mind that anxiety is a threat that must be eliminated. So your world begins to shrink. Russ Harris writes in The Happiness Trap that the harder you struggle with anxiety, the more it holds you down. Real freedom comes when you stop struggling and start opening up. ACT doesn't ask you to like anxiety. It asks you to make space for it, so you can focus on what makes life meaningful. Think about your mind like a smoke alarm. It's built to protect you, to alert you when there might be danger. But sometimes it goes off when you're just cooking dinner. And if you've ever had that happen, you know just what to do. You grab a towel and wave it wildly in front of it until it stops. Or maybe you even pull out the batteries. You just got to remember to put them back in. You get all worked up, but the smoke wasn't the problem, was it? It was just the system doing its job. That's anxiety. It's your internal smoke alarm system. Sometimes it's accurate, other times it's just reacting to life's heat. And when you fight to silence it, you make more noise, more panic, and less room to actually live your life. to get back to cooking dinner. Acceptance in this sense is learning to say that there's the alarm, it's okay, what matters right now? That small pause, that willingness to notice instead of control, that's where the freedom starts. Another useful way to see this is to imagine your life as a garden. There are flowers that you've planted, your relationships, goals, passions, and then there's the weeds, those unwanted thoughts, those fears, and those worries. Many people spend all their energy pulling weeds. Every time one pops up, they panic. They dig, spray, and pull until they've trampled the flowers that they were trying to protect. Control promises a perfect garden, but it gives you exhaustion instead of beauty. Acceptance says, let the weeds be there. Focus on watering what matters. Kelly Wilson, one of ACT's co-founders, writes, "And things might go terribly wrong. You don't need to feel good to live a good life. You only need to live in a way that matters, even when you don't feel good." Acceptance creates space for growth. When you stop fighting your internal weeds, you can finally nurture what makes life meaningful. Control feels safe, but it keeps you stuck. Acceptance feels risky, but it sets you free. As Stephen Hayes reminds us in A Liberated Mind, the goal is not to feel better. The goal is to get better at feeling. So the next time anxiety shows up, notice the instinct to fight and pause. You don't have to silence the alarm, pull every weed, or conquer the current. You just have to learn to float, breathe, and choose what's worth tending to. Because life gets better, not when you control your feelings, but when you make room for them and focus on what matters most. Remember, your journey towards a more purposeful and mindful life begins with a single click.